There are a lot of autism myths. Like, a lot of autism myths. Myths about why we're autistic, why we behave the way we do, how our brains function, etc., etc., etc. I can't go over all of them because we would be here all day, but I'll go over some of them. The number one myth is that autism is a disease. It's not a disease. It's simply a different neurotype. Our brains aren't wired the same way as neurotypical's brains, which has us reacting to and interacting with the world differently. Unfortunately, some people see our behavior and deem it as wrong and that it must be fixed. In their eyes, we are broken, sick, and must be cured. I'll discuss myths about autism cures later, but the belief that autism is a disease is the root of every autism cure myth. Another fairly common myth that has been spread thanks to media depicting autistic people is that autistics are either geniuses or have intellectual disabilities. Another one that ties into this myth is that we're all savants. This myth messed me up while growing up because I'm not a savant or a super genius. So I thought that I was an idiot. My grades in school were very average. The only thing I felt that I was really good at was drawing. And even then, I had friends who were better than me at that too, because I do have some motor function issues. So my hands don't always move the way I want them to. I never excelled in a way that people expect of autistics. So I saw myself as a failure. It really brought down my self-esteem. Media never depicts autistics with just average intelligence. It took so many years for me to be able to say to myself, I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. I'll be happy when this myth disappears, but I have a feeling it won't for a long time, if ever. The myth that every autistic is an introvert or doesn't want to make friends has been a big problem for some of us. I know it's because some people, uh, I know it's caused some people to be misdiagnosed or had their suspicions of being autistic shut down. If an autistic person has friends and or is an extrovert, they suddenly can't be autistic, no matter how many other autistic traits they have. It makes me happy that I got diagnosed before my socializing skills improved. In the last few years, I've heard people say things along the lines of, You're autistic? I couldn't tell. So many dang times. The myth that autistics don't want to make friends can be so incredibly harmful, especially for children. They'll intentionally be isolated, not because people don't want to be their friends, but because they think it's the right thing to do. Sometimes our awkwardness and blunt behavior can come off as rude or unfriendly. That doesn't mean we don't want to make friends. We're just not always the best when it comes to social interactions. Of course, there's the myth that autistics will never amount to anything. We can't learn, we can't succeed, we can't be independent. And I know that there are some autistics who can never be fully independent, but that doesn't mean they can't do anything. They aren't incompetent. I've talked to in the past about how much believing your autistic kid will never amount to anything can really harm that kid emotionally and mentally. Believing that you're nothing but a burden will severely damage your self esteem. If a kid is constantly being told to never try because they'll always fail and never and are never encouraged to do anything, it makes sense that they'd never succeed in anything because they'll never try anything. You can't finish anything if you never start anything. People who see their autistic children as a useless burden make me so angry. They do so much harm to this child. But if you call them out on their behavior, they're the victim and you're just a nasty bully. These types of people just shouldn't have kids, honestly. That's how I feel. I talked earlier about the 1985 study that said autistics have a delay in developing theory of mind. This is the idea that autistics lack empathy or can't feel emotions at all, and it really dehumanizes us. It makes us sound like we're uncaring, unloving, and heartless. I remember in my early to mid 20s believing that I couldn't feel love as strongly as others because of my autism, and worrying that because of that, I wasn't good enough for my partner. I did eventually realize that I had been wrong, and I'm glad I did. It's one of the many things that's kept this relation going so strong for 11 and a half years now.
You're good enough. Dang it, you're good enough.
People don't seem to realize that some of the myths can, what some of these myths can do to an autistic person. It's just not in how others treat us, but how we treat ourselves.